G'day and welcome back to Torment Thursdays. Last time we got to this area, we created our character, we got the silver-tongued descriptor, and then we got stuck. Literally got stuck in the environment. It's a beta. Things like that happens. So we're stuck with... I replayed through the first scene quickly. I actually made a couple of mistakes, so we've got a different descriptor now. Now we are slick. I don't know what the difference is, but that's what we are. And here we go. Pinprick of light in the Mystic Lab with the Spectre before us. Everything about the Spectre seems dreamlike. He's a hazy silhouette of green glass smoke wearing stylish, well-cut clothing. His jade eyes are fixed on you. His handsome, bearded face seems hauntingly familiar. But to the best of your recollections, you've never seen him before. He claps you warmly on the shoulders. Skist, you made it. Listen, I know you've got a dozen questions, but we're not through the worst of it yet. If you want to survive, you have to attune yourself. It's a process that's, hard to explain. I'll walk you through it. Really, did you say we were in my mind? I don't know what else to call it. This isn't the real world, but everything you do here seems to change things. I think you can change things in the real world too, but you'll have to get there to find out. So, am I dead? If you're dead, we wouldn't be talking, right? Your body's out in the real world, knitting itself together, I hope. But if you don't finish this attunement process soon, then yes, we'll be dead. Who are you? You might call me a composite, like a mismatch of your thoughts and memories, everything. I remember some things you don't, just like you remember some things I don't. You made me when you hit the ground. Of course, you didn't mean to make me, but here I am. Why are we in a hurry? Fall didn't kill you, right? But there's something else after us, something way more deadly than a high-velocity fall to the ground, if you can believe that. We'll have to wake up so we can stop it, or at least get away from it. What's after us? It's called the Sorrow. Look, can we talk about that later? This attunement is important. For both of us. Alright, how do I get attuned? See all those tanks here? Each one's got a creature in it that's attuned to one of the tides. You need to attune to them. That'll attune you to each tide. Yeah, I tried it myself while I was waiting for you, but I couldn't do anything except watch them. I suppose that means this is your show. What are the tides? That's a jar of memory answer opening there. The tides are a force, alright? Like gravity or magnetism or something, except they respond to people's actions. There are 5 of them, just like there are 5 creatures here. Let's see. There's a blue tide, it's about reason and wisdom. Red responds to passion and action. Indigo is about community and the greater good. Gold is like an individual group. Good, like compassion and sacrifice. There's one more. Silver is about admiration and power, changing the world. Don't need to know all this to make it work. Just do what comes naturally and you'll be fine. We'll be fine. Alright, I'm ready. Great, let's do this. Now, save. Tidal chamber. Let's go with that. So, I don't know if you noticed that, but when I pressed A while typing there, it still moves the camera. Again, this is a beta. Last time around we went down here. Let's do that again. Words floating, yeah. Chalzik. So this teleports you. That will be useful to know. So let's talk to the Chalzik. First, it appears to contain a dense jumble of sharp-edged onyx. It's only when a cluster of eyes flickers beneath a slick membrane that you realize you're looking upon the oily carapace of a huge insect. In a Chalzik, your memory whispers compressed into a tiny space. A flood of bubbles rises from the bottom of the tank, bearing you with them into the depths of the creature's mind, seeing what it sees. Your young host clutches a steaming haunch of meat and crouches with the other hunters, shivering with outrage. Like the rest of the tribe, she is starving, and the pack elder does not care. Flexing scarred talons, the elder unfolds them above them and demands that its hunters turn over all their kills, again, to honor him. Your host makes a sound like a grinding glass at the back of her throat. The pack will not turn on its elder unless someone rises first. Her legs flex beneath her. And what we said is convince her to reason with the Pack Elder. The hunter's outrage melts into a calm serenity that fills her language ducts and billows from her pheromonal slits. She rises from her servile crouch, speaking with a mixture of sense and claw gestures. The elder's pride falters as he focuses on the pack. He sees the unhealed rifts in their greying carapaces, the chipped claws. Tangible clouds of shame radiate from his powerful frame as he leans down to return his hunter's kills. You feel the tide's embrace and flow through you. Back in the strange laboratory, 5 hulking, smoking creatures appear on the platform, sucking at the air with crackling snarls. The sour dread in your gut, recognize them for what they are. Hands of the being that hunted you while you regained your memories. Fragments of the sorrow. 4 of them lunge into the machines connected to the remaining tanks, wreaking chaos on the delicate innards. The 5th fragment focuses its eyeless gaze on you and your ally. Found us! The sorrow's here! So they go straight into the machines. That's the silver one, no doubt. These are just fragments. We got them. Get them out of the control panel. Yeah, this should protect you. I'll be fine. Yeah, I'll be fine. And I'm glowing purple. Sweet. And that just bounces out. Plus cast-off stone. So there's examine. Okay, yeah, so that's very clearly... So that's using both actions to move. You. Can't use the tanks, but I can keep the monsters off of you. Better use than me, I guess. And he doesn't have the action. The spinning slitted disc is set into the front of this machine. Behind it, sharp currents of oily darkness twist and whirl. The amorphous bestial sorrow fragment will need to be removed from this machine before the creature in the nearby tank will be calm enough for a connection. Okay, there we go. Their turn. Oof. Whatever's happening with the camera, it does not like it. Okay, now. Really inconvenient that it's in this order. But I guess in this case, yep, consumes action. The speed check will make it an easy speed check. 3+. Yep, why not? So these stats are also used in combat. So when something attacks me, it will consume some of my speed or that kind of thing. Here we go. Beneath the spinning disc, the saboteur's body roils and recoiling at the touch. Suddenly, pours out of the machine in a stream of glistening black. The disc falls back into place with a satisfying click, and the whirlpool in the nearby tank dissolves. The creature should be calm enough to interact with it. The sorrow fragment coalesces with a baleful, eyeless gaze. Come on. As the glittering zoetrope spins, a gleaming strong glass dome pops up from a socket in the blinking console. Brilliant energy swirls inside. Might make a useful weapon against the sorrow fragments. Gained a tidal capacitor. So, this is Spectre Blast, this is Spectre Mask. We don't actually get to see what said tidal capacitor is. You head up here, because you can't actually interact with the tank in a useful fashion. Boom! Stunned. Excellent. It's done. It's charging. It finishes being stunned. Last cast off goes, and he's going to interact with the tank. And to tune. Tiny currents coil over the hulking creature in this tank, stirring the brown and silver fur on its muscular forelimbs. Curving tusks curl away from its jaw, and it is these that remind you what these creatures are called. This is a tusked Grothus, though as far as you remember, there's no such thing as a tuskless Grothus. The currents speed up, whirling around the creatures. Suddenly, you're drawn through the eye of the whirlpool into the creature's mind. Your host and a rival pack lead tumble down a snowy cliff face, fighting and clawing at each other. They strike a ledge of transparent ice and roll apart, growling. Far above, their packs hoot in excitement. Cracks spiral out from their paws. Both leaders tense. The ground is over a kilometer below, but the first leader to teleport to safety will lose the duel and their pack. Your host bares his teeth. He will ensure his rival is dead to demonstrate his superiority, even if he dies too. Okay. So, I can force him to make the wise decision, convince him to kill the enemy, display your superiority to the packs. Let's go with compromise. Both fall, then 2 packs will be leaderless. An unwelcome doubt stirs in your host's chest, and he grunts reluctantly at his rival, jerking his head at the watching tribes. Who will rule them if they both fall to their death? Surprise surfaces on the rival's face, and he snorts his agreement. As the ledge crumbles, the model enemies teleport simultaneously to the top of the cliff. The packs are surprised but hopeful as the fight continues on solid ground. The tides swell around you, carrying you with them. Lean against the tank to catch your breath. You remain the creatures in the tanks. You need to be swift to avoid the sorrow fragments hunting for you. Okay. No, I don't want... Here's the thing. I don't want you to do that. Oop. There you go. You're stunned. You're going to run up. Charge up. So, I need to do that machine. I need to what? Okay. Target is out of range, so I can get that far at least. Run, 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 run! But I don't have any action left because of that. Yep, that's cool. Spectre. We have a very, very simple tactic for dealing with these guys. Just bounce them back. Charge up. Fantastic. You're stunned. Let's cast off. Interact with the machine. The sorrow-infested cables leading the machine is still tangled, causing great distress to the nearby creature. Let's pull them out. Let's yank on those cables. Critical success. The cables do not pull easily. The malignant tension spiraling through the cables fights for every millimeter, coiling and straining against any effort to untangle them. Finally, the creature's cables lie unbent on the ground, and the creature's struggle ease as it returns to peaceful slumber. The creature is ready to be connected with now. And the sorrow fragment shows up. And I get the data tunneler. As the filaments settle into position, a curved metal rod resting below them pops up onto the ground. The machine doesn't appear to need it anymore. It was some sort of data tunneler, which isn't very helpful here, but could make a very handy... It could make for a handy single-use teleporter by crossing 2 exposed wires at one end. Could be useful, actually. So what this is actually doing is it is giving us ciphers that we can then use. So you can see quantum teleporter, tidal capacitor. There's actually a limit to the number of ciphers one can have. We will move up here, because we can't actually interact with that yet. Spectre will move up. I don't know why it's doing that. Let's go down here, because we don't want to accidentally consume both actions. And there we go. Slam them all up against there. Stunning them. Stunned, stunned, stunned. These are all... Like, this actually makes things relatively simple, because we've got them stuck in one location. Okay. But it's setting the tone where I'm trying to avoid having to actually fight things. Running is better than fighting. This tank contains a humanoid with a skull-like head. A name rises from your inherited memories. This is a Nevigin, a creature of relentless, overpowering curiosity. Unaware of the sorrow fragments roaming the platforms, it speaks to itself in a grinding whisper in a language you don't understand. Tendrils of luminescent data snake from the tank and stream into your temples. The room fades in flaring stripes as you enter the mind of the creature in this tank. See what it sees. I destroyed the ancient... The Nevigin is in a dark cave, listening intently to a stone head embedded in a wall before it. I destroyed the ancient Kra, the head murmurs. I sought words of destruction sealed in a forbidden tome. I could not help it, but once known, these words spoke themselves to the 8 rulers of the Kra, turning them on each other. Great Kra melted, wars that followed, but I, imprisoned, could not burn with it. Even now the words wish to be spoken. The Nevigin leans forward hungrily. Let's go with indulge the learner's curiosity, allowing it to learn everything it can. The helpless scholar says 8 beautiful alien words that strike the Nevigin's mind, fastening to its thoughts like squirming thorn-covered vines. Concentrating through the pain, the Nevigin asks the weeping scholar the first of many questions about Lust Kra. Later, the Nevigin leaves the cage with the words bulging within it, pleased that it has discovered such interesting secrets. Warmth spreads through you, aligning tidal channels in your mind. After returning to your own body, a dull heat settles in your gut. An oily haze crowds your vision. You sense, no, you know that the sorrow has focused its dire attention directly on you. The remainder of the sorrow fragments split from the devices they were infesting. Join the hunt. Well, that is inconvenient. That one, and then one up there. So when they show up, they also roll for initiative. I don't know what we got for initiative. They still seem to be always... Skis, they're all coming out. Quick, go straight to the other tanks. That does make this fight less time consuming at least. And we'll bounce over there. Okay. At some point this becomes yellow. Oop. There we go. Because ultimately this has to be on some kind of coordinate system. Spectre's mark. So that would force them to attack him, except there's no point in doing that when I can just do this. Strange that... Okay, sure. I'll do this. Vector blast! Womp. Okay. You're stunned, you're stunned, you're stunned. The other one comes at him. Comes at me, bro. And charges? Yeah. That's what I wanted to see. Oh, and that one just hits the Spectre. Last cast off. Run up here. Interact. Take contains 2 crystal shards and a sparkling liquid. Memory stirs, pushing aside thoughts of pursuing beasts. You remember climbing a floating mountain of shining rock. Living crystalline formations wandered the wastes below, their many legs tracing intricate patterns on the glittering sands. This being one of those, a Krishramas. Its body is in liquid form, however. The shards, its heart and brain, begin vibrating together, filling your vision with what it sees. You sink into the simple sea-like mind of the Krishramas as it roams the jagged wastes, feeling its raw and aching need to create and recreate. It moves by birthing new legs from the death of old ones. It traces glorious whirls in the sand, glittering sand before, easing them with even more complicated designs. Then chaos. Anders' ballistic slug smashes through its brains, thoughts becoming splinters. Melting, you feel its dying wish to etch one last design on the sand beneath it. Ooh. This is interesting. I'm not sure. Laminate. Okay, yeah. So this just gives us more information. Red tide, native soil, leaving complex biomarked patterns. I wanted to at least warn the others. Let's do the warning. The Quishamus rolls reluctantly over in a jumble of melting crystal spines, erasing the incomplete work beneath it. The startled hunter fires another slug into your host's brain, but not before the creature fires a flurry of disintegrating shards high into the air at intersecting angles. The shards slam into each other and explode with a crackling boom that echoes across the wastelands. You feel yourself melting into the channels carved by the tide. You lean against a tank to catch your breath. Eyeing the remaining creatures in the tanks, you'll need to be swift to avoid the sorrow fragments hunting for you. So I guess that's, like, not actually aligning completely with the tide. Bounce over here. Whoop. And then stun. And it loses its charge up fettle, which is status effect. Each of these guys runs. You are going to run up as well. This is probably for the best. Wow. Run up here. The radiant humanoid within this tank, a fire white, your memory whispers, stands calf deep in a pool of water, motionless. As near as you can tell, it's unconscious, but its eyes, slivers of even brighter light, are barely visible. They pulse once, and its mind unfurls before you, like a cloud of flame momentarily carrying you from the chamber, creatures pursuing you. Two gaunt, dehydrated firewhites trudge under an ember-flecked sky, across a charred plain studded with the towering bones of monsters. In the shadow of a mountainous ribcage, the leading white stumbles to its knees, arm tendrils deliriously seeking water in the ash. The other white, your host, is only slightly stronger and wishes to give its power and life to the other so that it can reach the river a kilometer away. Okay. Let's go with... so you can make it sacrifice itself. Save your host by forcing it to kill the other. Encourage the companion. Permit it to sacrifice itself. Let's go with inspired for another approach. An unfamiliar desire flickers into life in the white's mind. Curiosity, it kneels, sending flaming tendrils into the ashen soil, searching for something, anything that will save its companion and itself if it's possible. And there, far below the surface, ancient creatures sleep. Without a thought, the firewhite takes their life and restores itself and its companion. The two rise together and set off across the plain. The heat envelops you, aligning you to the tides. This was the last of the creatures. You steel yourself with a deadly race to the tank at the back of the room. That's it. See those tanks at the top of the platform? Get to the glowing one, quick. So yeah, he's got no items. Here's the basic plan. Run up here. Blast. Can't get both of them. But I can get those two at least. So these two can still get it. That one can as well. I can teleport next turn, which will help. Also helps that they have a charge attack, and we have a reliable stun that always hits. Wow. Okay. Let's cast off. You can't get to it in time. So what we'll do, we'll head up as far as we can without it taking two actions. Kinda wish there was a way of displaying it, but Then we'll use the tidal capacitor to bounce both of these guys. I said we'll use the tidal capacitor I don't know what's going on there. Inventory. Save and close. Let's see. Let's check around the rest of the inventory. There's our map. Unfortunately, the interface is also not very responsive. Close. Because that's a close button, not a tooltip. This opens something. What it is, I don't know, because it's taking a while. Here we go, practiced with light weapons. Probably part of getting slick. And there's our skills. I mean, I don't mind those skills. It wasn't silver tongue, though, which is what I wanted. Inventory gives us a gear, ciphers. Use item. Doesn't seem to want to let us use the item. There we go. It only targets one of them. Well, that's not as ideal as I'd hoped. Well, that's a lot of charging. How about all of you go to sleep? Rude. Stunned, 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 stunned. Exactly as planned. And let's interact with this. Scintillating color rides along the facets of the crystalline chamber. It seems ready for you to enter. Consume action. Place your hand on the surface of the tank. As soon as your hand touches the glass, a surge of energy flows into your body. The power from each of the 5 tidal creatures and the choices you made. Try as you hard, you can. As hard as you try, you cannot contain the massive wave of power. Let's go with try to direct the power of the fragments of the sorrow. A burst of force surges through your arm, into your head and out, directed at the sorrow fragments, destroying some, sending others screeching in pain, fleeing the laboratory as fast as they can. That's 40 XP. That's a lot in terms of Numenera, if I recall correctly. More and more waves flow through you, overwhelming you. Then the tide turns. The energy is no longer pushing, but pulling. It draws you inexorably toward the chamber, and somehow yanks you through the glass, filtering your essence like a psychic sieve. A blinding light shines at the end of it. At the end, like a tunnel, and then new scene. And once I can save, we will stop. Blue. Once you had 24 words for all its hues and shades, metaphors to give glaives capes and courtesans' eyes. Now the sky is just blue, the ground is just stone. The man before you fat, now all is vague and drab. Like the memorial sees you've stopped and he halts. Let's have a rest then, he says, passing you a bottle of fortified wine as he catches his breath. You knew a word for that too, the streak they brew in the Valley of the Dead Heroes. Gone. We aren't too far from his cenotaph. The fat man wipes his brow. Deep in your pockets, your hand feels for the round tin that holds the worms. Your fingers clutch it tight, and as they do, they brush a piece of paper. This interface would be really good for the memories we saw before. With the picture and everything. Are you his shadow? The memorialist asks abruptly. Saken Vanders, I mean. The one you came to see. Without waiting for a response, he barrels onward. We thought he'd cast his shadow among his own kind. We reasoned that with the tablet gone, his line was lost forever. He stops and flushes more deeply, and then hastily, with a sign. But the shadows fall where they will, as they will. Saken Vanders, Tablet, shadows. They flit around the edges. of your mind escaping your grasp, but the worms, they are well within reach. Shall we continue, pilgrim? The memorialist asks. To break the silence, one more short hike will do it. Your body is ready, but your mind is not. Let's look at the paper in our pocket. You slip the crisp, neatly folded sheet from your pocket. Carefully open it. I will want the worms, but I will be strong. I will wonder what I have lost, but they will only rob me further. I will endure, and I will build the tower of my intellect anew. Thick and Vanders will furnish the material. The mind link, not the worms, will be my tool. The mind link, a dead-eyed trader from Harif sold it for the last of your once great heap of prizes and bounties. Now slung from your belt, a hideous mask with a synth tubes hanging off it like some Satoshi tentacle. Seiken Vander's shadows, Tabat? Memorialist regards you skeptically, as if he expects to be the butt of a joke. As he looks at your eyes, however, he softens. We live in a world of darkness, pilgrim, and each of us is just the shadow of one of the great heroes buried here in this valley. There's a light that shines behind the world. To know it, we shadows must measure ourselves against the heroes who cast us, and learn the light that lives beyond. He takes a swig from the canteen. I thought you set out on this pilgrim to visit the tomb of Seiken Vanders because you are his shadow. You wanted to stand before him and find enlightenment. Am I wrong? Are you his shadow or not? I don't know. The memorialist nods. That's how it is. I've met pilgrims who swore they were lords and ladies of old, but when they reached the grave, wept in shame. But I've also seen a novice stumble across a hero by mere chance. If you find Seiken Vanders, you will know who you are, or are not. He gestures towards the hilltop which you've been hiking. Just over that rise is the monument. As for his tomb, you said that the cenotaph would lead the way. I can't see how, but for the famous puzzle breaker of Sagas Cliffs, I'm sure it will be simple. Your mind might still be clouded, but at least the form of things has become clear. Let's go. I want to see the cenotaph. As you follow the memorialist up the crowning path, he carries on about a time when all the roads in the valley were well paved as the streets of Sagas Cliffs. Then, reaching the hillcrest, he falls into reverential silence. When you catch up, you see the sight that awed him. Even for the thousandth time, a clutch of exquisite monuments ranging from vast to miniature, from abstract to eerie lifelike. The memorialist points to one of them, a many-sided slab of black stone, and gestures for you to continue. This must be the cenotaph of Seiken Vanders, Tabat General and would-be world conqueror. Up close, the cenotaph is not so remarkable. Its faces are adorned with gruesome stylized reliefs depicting the Tabat and the Draculith mounts, trampling the corpses of their foes. Neat geometric glyphs encircle the panels like the engraved images themselves. They're embossed rather than engraved. I seem to have said engraved twice there. Oh, whatever. Memorialist goes his way. Of course, Seiken Vanders isn't here, like the other heroes. His body's in one of the cells in the catacombs beneath us. This is its own sort of shadow. All memorials are. As the guide mumbles something about the difference between impression, and reality, your mind returns to the cenotaph itself. Examine the images. No doubt some historian could tell the tale behind each panel and what doomed the Tabat race annihilated here. What grand battle was waged, but to you they're just an ugly blur that tugs at shameful memories without ever quite dragging them to the surface. This is not the knowledge you came for. On one side of the cenotaph there's something else, an obscene picture crudely etched rather than raised. Its edges are scotch black. Memorialist clears his throat awkwardly. A graffito from after the Tabat were beaten, carved with a plasma torch by a bitter nano. Coughs again. The visual pun on Black 3 must be obvious. Sadly, we can't possibly fix the damage. Study the glyphs. What seemed at first individual glyphs are far more complex, smaller symbols assembled into larger patterns, linking into chains, twined into knots, and never a tangle or ramble. It's more mathematical or scientific notation than language. Running your fingers across the glyphs, you've seen that they shine briefly under your touch, then fade. Perhaps there's a formula here to be solved, a structure, a higher hidden order to be found. Perhaps you could catch glimmers of the spout's military mastery, but the sieve of your mind holds nothing. Any secret slip right through. Okay. As you struggle to decipher the symbols, the memorial hovers over. This one means war, he says, illuminating one cluster repeated endlessly on the cenotaph. This one, death. He picks out others and shows how the ideogram for soldier weaves into warband, which can in turn mesh into column or army. Excitement grows in his voice as he leads you to another panel and shows you unique markings that compose the pattern for underspine. A high council, we think, or god. He notes what seems to be a structure to the writing, a pattern within the pattern. Could it be a puzzle to open the way to Second Vanders? He asks, expectantly. You have no answer for his hopes. Let's study the basin. Carved into the cenotaph's plinth is a wide shadowed bowl, perfectly smooth, perfectly ovoid. In its center is a small drain that runs into the monument. Around its rim is a geometric pattern, composed of a simple recurrent shape. You recognize the symbol. Blood. Of course, it could be nothing else. Guide keeps back from the basin as you examine it, and shares no thoughts. Let's put some of our blood in the basin. Beneath your guide's worried gaze, you nick your wrist and drizzle some blood into the bowl. Nothing comes of it. Whatever flows through your veins will not slake the stone's thirst. Let's look at the tin in our pocket. Tin is old and unremarkable, but scuffed and dented, but sturdy enough. And it is a mound of worms, like grubs, blind and thin, barely moving. Your fingers itch and tremble, your nostrils flare. You no longer know their name, but you know exactly how to use them. Careful not to spill them. You close the tin and slide it back into your pocket. So go and try and find the correct sequence of glyphs. We fail. Okay. Take another. No. Sacrifice a memorialist. Not a worm. It's not a worm. Gripping a grub between two fingers, you slip it into your nostril and breathe as deeply as you can. The worm works beneath you, eager to reach its meal. You feel its worm the last stretch, then pain like a knife stabs at your brain. You know the worm is feeding, eating grey matter and pissing neurostimulants, letting your mind reconquer vast territories that it's lost. Nematodes, that's what they're called, not worms, and cerulean, that's the sky's color, not blue. The rush of understanding overwhelms you. You read the world's unwritten mysteries, devise stratagems, unravel mysteries. Your brain races with the thought brought on by the worm's piss, and through your thoughts run the tablet symbols, spinning, twisting, combining, and dividing. There's a meaning here, tangled amid the knotted glyphs, and your mind is unraveling it surely, but not fast enough. Your thoughts become shamefully slow, and the puzzle you felt so close to breaking now seems impregnable. Another worm. Just one more in your mind, honed like a sword, will slice through the skins. You're sure of it. You find yourself sniffing in anticipation, a predator on the hunt. Take another look. Wars, blood, battle, death. These are the symbols engraven in your mind as they are in the cenotaph. You can squeeze no more meaning from memory than you can from the stone. There's a key, you can't find it. Sacrifice a memorialist. Perhaps your guide underestimates the strength still coiled in your sinews. Perhaps he imagines your body has gone soft as your mind. Or maybe his faith gives him no cause to fear leaving this world of shadows. Whatever the case, he hardly seems to flinch as you swing a jagged rock towards his head. The sound is more a thud than a crack, but any fool could see his skull is smashed. You drag his body to the basin, saw at his neck until blood begins to run, filling the bowl faster than this narrow drain can empty. You step back and watch as the glyphs glow bright blue, casting with their light a kind of shimmering portal in the air. Through it you see hints of a room. Step through the portal. You step through the wavering energy field and stare at the blue-tinged tomb beyond. The blood price has been paid, and Second Banders rests within. Tarrying no longer, you plunge through. The tomb's walls are bare stone as it sits on the floor. In fact, the room is empty except for a sarcophagus that sits at its center, a crystalline Numenera that hums with ancient, indefatigable energy. Bathed in the portal's light, the room feels almost underwater, sensation heightened by the air's unnatural weight. Study the sarcophagus. It's divided into three parts: a wide bier, an elongated pentagonal coffin, a curved lens-like lid. is decorated with familiar glyphs that you recognize war and death and purity among them, but these designs hold little interest. They're just catchwords, and they will teach you nothing of the Tabat genius. The coffin, for its path, is a single hunk of milky aquamarine. Its lid is less opaque, and through it you can see the corpse's silhouette. Or, most importantly, you see a simple locking mechanism holding the two together. Opening the sarcophagus would be a straightforward matter. Let's open it. A few twists of the coffin's cylindrical lock, and the lid rises with a hiss of icy, age-old air. As the mist clears, you see the last face of Saken Vanders. You feel nothing at the sight of him, having never known the terror of his triumvirate. His features are slightly mummified, but well preserved. His even tabard is faded with time, and even the sarcophagus could not keep at bay. But it is head that matters, not the clothes. His head and its brain, and the inside sheathed within, an edge keen enough to cut through the tangle of your own failures. Use Mind Link. Once you slip the helmet over your face, you can't see and can barely breathe. Trapped in the mask's damp darkness, you fumble for the socket at the base of the corpse's skull. At last you find it, still struggling to try to bring the conjured tube into contact. Suddenly the darkness explodes with light. The nebulous patchwork glow of your own mind, and beyond it, the glorious mandala formed by the thoughts of Saken Vanders. A mote emerges from the pattern. A confused voice whispers, "You're not the Unspine." Almost instantly, the geometry of his mind transforms into a star fortress, from whose bastions dagger-like shapes stream forth. "You will not taint my thoughts," the tabard voice rumbles as his fleet soars towards you. There's no time to try and reason with him, if that would ever be possible. Let's go with... Fend him off. You're not here to... You're here to rebuild your mind, not offer it up for tabard pillaging. You knit shut the ragged fringes of your mind, focusing and contracting yourself into a hard, tight core bound by its will to live. The cutting thoughts of Saken Vanders flash at the perimeter of your defenses, probing, testing, seeking entry, but to no avail. At length they withdraw to the Tabat's own thought patterns. For now you are safe. The texture of the general's mind ripples as he arranges his thoughts, absorbs what his scouts has gleaned from your mind. At last, like a messenger, a sphere splits off from the pattern and floats before you. Pilgrim, the word is spat out. I have seen the secrets you keep from yourself, the endless battle you meant to end, and the red wreckage your solution left behind. I am unmoved. I have killed more, lost more, and fell farther without surrendering the truth. The sphere shimmers and flattens into a kind of mirror. You came here because you would prove yourself again, through me, by me. The thought floats slowly backwards. But I am not your underspine. Study his mind. You see a wide crescent of rail reavers ready to sweep down on an outnumbered but unfazed band of Tabat scouts. You know they will fight free because Vanders knew it then too, before the battle even began. You see the city of Saga's cliffs, rising above the plains like a beacon, a treasure, a false icon to be smashed to pieces. In the depths of the general's mind, jagged, violent thoughts seem to be mustering as if for war. At the moment they're scattered, as if in some disarray. I want you to fill the emptiness in my mind. The general's mind darkens, its defenses harden. Conquest holds its own doom. The risk is too great. I want to learn the trick of Tabat warfare. A purple ripple runs across the mind of Saken Vanders, and you feel a harsh rasp of Tabat laughter. The weak-willed and degenerate will always dream that the great prevail by tricks or cheats or chance. His thoughts array themselves in interlinked chains of blue and black. But war disabuses the trickster of their vanity. Failure falls upon those proved false by battle, and the victory is the stamp of truth. The chains stretch and run through the patterns of his mind. We did not master deceit or even war. We mastered our own authentic selves. We triumphed by philosophy, not strategy. Tell me more about your philosophy. A small cube of ideas detaches from the pattern of the general's mind and unfolds before you. In all systems, the variable is subordinate to the constant. The measure of things must be fixed. Lines of thought stab out from the unfolding eidolon, probing your mind like outriders you do not comprehend. The eidolon rearranges itself into a pyramid. When one stands at the utmost peak of the highest mountain, an advance is no better than a retreat. All changes decline. Again he probes, and again you are found wanting. To fall, one must say, there is no more ascent. Here I stay. Many have spoken, but the Tabat spoke alone, spoke truly. Resisting the vanity of progress. That's a dumb philosophy. There's a thing called the local maxima, which is, imagine you're at the top of a mountain. Okay, sure. Imagine there is a taller mountain nearby. In order to get to that higher place, you have to go down and then come back up. It is possible to hit a peak from which all directions lead down, but not forever. Your kind has been wiped out. As you tell the Tabard General of his kind's demise, the geometric perfection of his thoughts fractures for a moment, not quite into chaos or organic shapes, but into sharp shards that cannot quite reform. Some of these needles jab into your own mind, confirming you're telling the truth. I see, Vandus answers. Eventually, the fragments of his mind reform through the ranks of its guardians seem thinned. At least they are safe from the corruption of change. To be frozen forever in cold death is a better fate than see me teeming welter of your city. I ask you again, join me. What did you see in me? His mind ripples with amusement. Fear, vanity, weakness, deceit. There's a long silence. It is your duty to know yourself and to be yourself. A thin sliver of thought shoots out from his mind and stabs into your own. It's an image, a battlefield, strewn with the countless corpses of shattered war machines. A regal woman stands beside you, rigid with rage. Puzzle breaker indeed, she sneers. The image, be it memory or tabard deceit, fades away, and Saken Vanders offers no more. What is the underspine? Saken Vander's mind grows still with faint flashes of contemplation flickering across its surface. The guardian of the Tabat's soul. His mind darkens and storms. To use your words befouls the meaning of my thoughts. It's obscene you call this tongue truth. Silence. Then, the underspine is a filter through which our mind flows, cleansing of distraction, subversion, novelty, and doubt. Darkness dances to the edge of his will. You cannot comprehend. Let's plunder his mind. Death has not dulled the Tabard's weapons or his will, but the mind is more than a mere battlefield, and riddled and rotten as yours may be, not yet bereft of all its old gifts. You confound Vander's defenses with a flurry of bright weavings, while stabbing your lines of thought deep into the perfect geometry of his mind. In the end, that's all it takes. His thoughts destroy themselves, unraveling even as they seek to mend the breaches you've cut. Order turns to chaos, and the great light of Saken Vanders to a mere shadow. In this rout you rip whatever wisdom you want from his supine mind, and then, as he fades, you slip free of the mind link, and moments later of the Tabat's tomb. The outside sky is blue, still blue and vast and unbound. It needs no words to hem it in. Like the pilgrim beneath, it is fertile in its emptiness, not barren. With empty pockets and a yearning mind, you begin to a journey that is not only unfinished, but barely begun. Okay. Until next time, have a great day. And we'll see where this leads tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, in fact, next Thursday. Bye.